What's going on, folks? Painless with another video for y'all. I look at this guy. He's relatively my age, maybe 2 years younger, um, and I've done videos like this in the past. And I'm not going to sit up here and degrade this man and say he should have had it coming. I mean, but when you put yourself in these communities, these so-called communities, I think it's safe to say that areas like in Chicago like this, we know about Chicago due to the news, um, the hundreds of killings every year amongst minorities, mainly black folks, black young men meeting their demise by other black men. Um, I wonder sometimes, I think in the so-called black community, there's a lot of fear amongst each other, black folks fearing other black folks. And that's something not widely talked about. We talk about um, black folks in these communities, so-called communities, being scared of police, when in actuality, I'll just go in and say that you probably do need a pistol on you at all times in Chicago, in South and West Side Chicago. And from my understanding, this young man had a licensed weapon. Um, and I would suggest that if you're in an area where you can legally carry, you carry. Out here in Texas, you don't need a license to get a pistol. I can roll right up to Academy Sports, and some of y'all in Texas know exactly what I'm talking about. I could roll right up to Academy Sports and get me a pistol. And I see nothing wrong with that. And it's sad that many times, um, usually that pistol will keep you out of harm's way. And unfortunately, it's people that look like us that are the most threat. Speaking for me as a black man, um, you know, being out here, um, this is ingrained, and other people have attested to this. There's something ingrained with us as black folks to be fearful of one another, to always be sizing up one another, and that's just the way it is. But you know what? Like I said just a moment ago, he probably needed a pistol. You probably need to be strapped in these areas, not from white police, because they are not shooting up white police in these inner cities. And I've talked about stand your ground in Florida with Trayvon Martin. There have been numerous brothers, quote unquote, that have used the stand your ground law in Florida. Not by, not because they shot a white man, it's because another black man tried to accost them or tried to rob them or whatever have you. And that young man, that black man, has used that law. You can go and research. I would say Google Tampa newspaper stand your ground law, black something, black men, and you'll see the charts and the evidence and the stats where plenty of black men have used the stand your ground law in the state of Florida. Now we know stand your ground law was very famous, and popularized under the Trayvon Martin George Zimmerman case. Very, and then we could talk about the castle law, protecting one's property, and I mean, we can go deep into this, but I would suggest getting you a weapon. Now, we can get into whether, a lot of people are going to look at this and say, well, you know what, Painless? Even when we do have a licensed, um, even though we have papers that legally allow us to carry a weapon, see what happens to us. We still get shot. And one can make that argument because, I mean, he obviously had a weapon on him. But now we're getting into the weeds of what I want to talk about. Choice. Choice. Now, I've said that in these so-called communities, a lot of these cops don't look at these areas as vibrant, safe communities, and they're on edge. I mean, if you were in a city and you were police in a city that had 300 plus murders, and you look at the suspects and you look at the victims and see they're a certain color hue, you're going to be on edge. And I listen to all the pro-black folks talk about, um, this, that about police brutality and all this stuff. But you know what? They are as fearful and scared, but you won't hear that from them. You won't hear that. I mean, if you go back, I remember Jesse Jackson said something along the lines of that, if he was at an ATM at 2 in the morning, he would be relieved if he saw a group of white men. That's very telling for you. A so-called black leader, which is the cause for another video, said he would be relieved if he was at an ATM at 2 in the morning and looked up and saw a couple white guys. Now, we all know what that means. We know what Jesse Jackson was trying to say. And it's that fear that most black folks have of one another. And then, given Chicago, the city with its reputation of murder and mayhem, one can only, you can't blame, or somebody's gonna feel that way. Now the choice is, this young man didn't have to resist in a manner in which he did. Given the climate, the social climate of being potentially marked and shot by the police. I mean, we've all heard this growing up. And he's, like I said earlier in the beginning parts of this video, he's around my age. So I know, hopefully, he's heard that story about don't make sudden movements. Yes, sir, no, sir, comply, and all this good stuff. I assume he's heard this. This was what I was taught coming up. And then pulling his pistol looked like he was pulling it out to try to shoot at the cops. I mean, why? And I'm pretty sure that there are brothers in Chicago, even females, that have constant run-ins with police and don't end up this way. This is about choice, folks. This is about choice. I'm pretty sure in Chicago, there's brothers that know what they have to do to keep it moving, to get through the next day dealing with those police. And their name is not plastered all over the world, because now we live in instant news. Your name, this brother's name is all over the world now. And it's a rather unique name, at least to me. So the idea that all black men are like this in these so-called communities is false. Because I know there are plenty of young black men that may be up to no good, that may be just going to work, having constant run-ins with police, but are living to see another day. You know why? Because of the choice they make. So, you all ask for solution. Well, painless, here you go again. No solution. Well, the solution is to make a better damn choice so you can live. That's the solution. It ain't nothing grandiose. Ain't nothing I gotta put on a damn um, board or prop up something on an easel and write it down for you. Make better damn choices when you dealing in a climate, in an environment where you could potentially lose your life. I mean, if you're so hell bent on the cops shooting us down and all this stuff, the last thing you want to do is go try to go toe to toe with them over a simple stop. Now, the woman, the cop reaching for him or whatever, you know, I don't know police protocol per se. I know a little bit. I don't know if that's procedure. And I'm not, absolving the cops of this. But, when you're reaching for your waistband, put it this way, when you have a group of people that have the authority to take your life, they are in an upper hand than you. They have an advantage, a tactical advantage over you. Many times, us, we love to look at cops as just ordinary people. Oh, he draw down on me, I'm going to draw down on him. Well, you know what? You can do that, hence another bad choice. Because one thing is, they had the prerogative and the authority by the state to take your life. You don't have that. There was no reason why he should have went into his pants like he was going to do something. There was no reason for that. This could have been avoided. Them cops didn't walk up there with their guns drawn, trying to shoot him. You're not going to win that fight. You're not going to win that, brother. You're not going to do it. It ain't happening. So I just, like I said, these communities, so-called, are not very functional. And we see this with the violence. And of course, those cops, which have been sworn to protect and serve, are going to feel that way. They're humans. Everyone in this situation was human. But you can make a choice. And I believe this young man made the wrong choice. And now he's not with us anymore. I've talked about conflict resolution in the so-called black community. Now I'm seeing, now that I haven't been doing videos, I see ex-gang members, killers that have reformed their life, talking about the same things I was talking about 2 years ago. But see, I got called a coon and all this stuff. I was watching Vlad TV. It had Big U on there. Big U, one of the, OG from a very reputable Crip gang in Los Angeles. I remember hearing stories about Big U from my cousins who were rivals, big rivals to that gang that Big U was from. And he was the real damn deal, a bona fide stone killer. He's talking about conflict resolutions amongst us as black men and how we need to deal with that. So, I mean, real recognize real, man. So, I mean, this could have all been, it's about choices. It really is. When it boils down to it, it's about choices so you can live through the day. This young man did not have to die like this. But many a times we don't even leave our neighborhoods for various reasons that we impose on ourselves. We can't go to this liquor store because it's this so-and-so gang's liquor store. So we limit ourselves in how to deal with the outside world and how to deal with interaction with people, problem solving, conflict resolution, simple talking and things. You know, I, I, I can't stand when I talk to a young man and he's got his head down and he's mumbling. He can't look me in the eye. I know that he never had a man, really a positive male figure in his life. Because I've said, we hear this thing about black men not being in the home, which I'm so tired of hearing and dealing with. But there are tons of black men in these so-called communities in ghettos and hoods. But the quality of black men in these so-called areas ain't shit. There's tons of black men in these areas. But they ain't nothing. Because they are not showing these young men how to deal. Most times and many times, they're passing down the same reckless, irresponsible behavior that they've been going through, that they grew up with. And I say, they don't, these people don't, these police and these people that live outside these so-called communities, they do not respect black men, black male authority. You don't hear about this in Jewish neighborhoods. You don't hear about this in Italian and Irish neighborhoods. Well, Payless, most of the cops are Irish and Jewish and Italian. There's a large black presence in the Chicago Police Department. In fact, I believe the chief of police is black. It's about at the home. You can't have these brothers that's 43, 47 years old still trying to rock Air Max and white tees out there with the 18. Somebody's got to provide leadership, direction, guidance. That's what's got to happen. But I'm in this video again, another, and these things are sensationalized. Also, on top of that, you can't forget that factor. Just like all this hashtag wild black shit, this gets on my nerves. And what that does is, to the average young black person watching it, it puts this thought in their mind to where everything they do, it just makes you paranoid. I've talked about social media and all this people doing all this crazy ass shit on social media, getting attention, and this whole sitting at the pool while black stuff. It's ridiculous. It's so stupid and silly. Now I know there's situations that occur, but you know what I think black folks need to do is just be quiet. I think that would be more surprising to the so-called oppressors um, that facilitate all this nonsense. If black folks would just be quiet, you keep them guessing. But when you hashtagging while cutting grass, hashtag black while cutting grass, hashtag black while selling lemonade, they don't take you seriously. Like, oh, here come these Negroes with their little circus stuff, always looking for attention, always look at me, they're bothering me. They know the playbook now, and you keep feeding into it. Just be quiet. That's the best thing. We know a mug that don't say nothing much. We like, man, what's his angle? You keep people guessing. With black folks, everybody knows our plays. Everybody knows our playbook. Just sit down somewhere.